Alright, today I will be going over how to build your own computer. This will be determining if you need an upgrade. If your computer is running slow, or if it's low on space, if it has lagging issues, or if it's overheating or crashing, you might want to build your own computer. Determining if you are ready to build your own. Most people think the actual building part is difficult, but it's really the easiest part. Time would be about an hour to 3 hours to build it. Money saved could be anywhere from $100 to $300, and the disadvantage is that you could ruin a part, but the chances of that are low if you take the right precautions. The main parts that you'll need for any computer would be a CPU, which is the engine of the computer, a power supply, which supplies every single part of the computer, a graphics card, which handles every graphics process in the computer, RAM, which is random access memory, and it helps with multitasking, motherboard, which you plug in every single part into, and it runs it properly, hard drive, which is used to store all your data on, and an operating system, which is the software that you run on. Secondary parts would be the case, which is used to store your motherboard and all your other parts safely and securely. A sound card, which is optional, which is used for higher end audio qualities. Optical drives, which is like a flash card reader or a CD reader. System fans, which is used to cool your computer more. Mouse and keyboard, and a monitor. Some of the main compatibility issues are with your CPU, motherboard, and GPU. You start by picking a processor, and you either choose an Intel or an AMD processor. And from there, then you look into the motherboard and see if the socket holds the correct processor. And then from there, you either choose, with AMD, you would choose an AMD Radeon graphics card, or with an Intel, you would choose a NVIDIA card. For the power supply, you have to make sure that all the watts can power all the parts. Usually a 500 watt will do. Case size, you have to make sure your case can hold the appropriate size for your motherboard, and you want to make sure that your motherboard can plug in to each system fan that you have. On the motherboard, it will also come with a DDR value, and you have to check that with the amount of RAM that you have to make sure that it can support it. What kind of CPU you will need. If you're going to do basic day-to-day processes, you can either get away with an i5 or you can get a quad-core or a 6-core AMD, which costs you about $100 or $120. And if you're going to do a higher-end task, you would need an i7, or you can get an AMD 8-core, which would be about $180 or $200. With the motherboard, you want to make sure that you do not have any integrated GPU on your motherboard. That will cause problems and it will slow your system down. For RAM, you want to get about 8 gigabytes. That will do any day-to-day task that you need, and it will keep your system running pretty quickly. A power supply, like I said before, at least 500 watts will power all easily small parts that you need. And for a hard drive, you should get at least a 1 terabyte, or you should get an SSD if you're looking for boot speed. And an SSD is perfect for upgrades because it will speed up your computer very quickly, and that was by Eddie. Graphics card. This is the most undercut part of any computer, especially the store-bought ones. It should be the most expensive part of your computer, and make sure the port on your graphics card matches the monitor that you will be getting. So if you get an HDMI port on your graphics card, make sure your monitor has an HDMI port. And another quote is, "A separate GPU is much more powerful than an integrated one." Geppetto. Safety that you'll need to go through during assembly. First, you will need to get an electrostatic wristband. This is used to ground yourself and prevent shock to each of your parts. Workspace, I suggest an elevated wooden table would be really nice. And also another thing that you want to do is you want to unbox everything before you start putting anything together and make sure that you have all the parts in correctly. And another thing is thermal paste. That's when you're using to put on your heatsink to your CPU. This compound is essential for keeping today's hot CPUs running cool. Steers. Now the actual assembly part. First, what you want to do is you want to unbox everything, and then you want to put your case on its side, open the case, and start screwing in the motherboard. You just gently place it in, have the spacers put, and then screw it in. Then you want to put in your CPU into the motherboard, latch it down with a heatsink, then plug in your GPU, then you want to plug in your RAM, and then you want to plug in your hard drive, then you want to put any extra system fans or optical drives in, and then you want to plug in your power supply. Power supply has it's what holds all the wires, and if your wires are neat, then your system will have a nice cooling effect. So you want to kind of save that for last. And now we'll go to the initial boot and operating system installation. Before you close your case, you want to make sure that all your parts are secure inside the computer. And then you want to plug it into a power source and flip it over and turn it on. And then an initial software program will start up that comes with any motherboard, and it's called the BIOS. And it will check to make sure all your parts are running properly, and if there is an issue, it will tell you. And then you just go in and make sure it's plugged in correctly and all that. And then what you'll have to do is plug in your operating system. You can either do this by disk or a flash drive, depending on your preference and depending on what you bought. And then after you do that, you go into your operating system, update whatever software you have, and then update all your drivers. After that, you'll have a fully fledged running computer. And the purpose of this speech was to show you that it can be cost efficient, is relatively cheap and easy to do, and it's a simple process, and it could expand your knowledge on this certain thing, and it will show you that some of the things that you use every day are not that hard to actually assemble. Thank you.